Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 291, December the 23rd, 2017. Welcome to the weekend edition and this special Christmas edition of TowerGate. A lot to cover today. Let's get with it. Well, it is becoming obvious that Comrade Obama and the Obama administration, the Long Mac Daddy, the disciple of Karl Marx and Saul Alinsky, was clearly the most corrupt political administration in American history. And it's not even been close. You know, Nixon burglarized the DNC and then tried to cover it up when they got caught. But when you look at the corruption of the Obama administration, we have just a few examples of some of the corruption that happened during the Obama administration. He used the IRS and other agencies to go after his political enemies. He used military and intelligence agencies to give material to support to terrorists. He politicized the FBI and the CIA, as well as many other agencies of the government, to advance his Marxist and Alinsky ideology. Obama used the Justice Department, the FBI, the CIA, to destroy the opposition party's candidate, President Trump, in a wide-ranging conspiracy that included the following: falsifying FISA warrants to get surveillance on American citizens. And of course, that was Trump's team that was caught up in that. Leaking classified information with malice, obstructing investigations, misusing government resources, and on and on and on. Now, we learn that Comrade Obama and his minions manufactured a media echo chamber to sell the Iran deal, telling lies by admission and omission. Along the way, it appears that the Obama administration derailed its own DEA's efforts to stop the Islamic terrorist group Hezbollah from developing a global narcotics syndicate. Comrade Obama gave his comrades a pass. This is being reported by Politico, a hardcore left-wing site. Now, I told you that the media are vicious, disloyal hyenas that will turn on you in a New York minute when it favors them. So look out, Rotten Reverend. The knives are being sharpened for you as well. There you have it. There's so much to learn about the 8 years of Comrade Obama and what all happened, not just with what we're talking about here with the surveillance and the unmasking and the dossier and the rigging of the election. All these this is just one thing. We're not even talking about Uranium One and all that happened there. Now we're talking about this deal where he covered for Hezbollah and their trafficking and cocaine and all this type of stuff. It's just, we know about the IRS targeting, using other government agencies to go after his political enemies, Tea Party groups and such. Incredible. I have never seen a more corrupt presidential administration than the Comrade Obama administration. And it seems like the farther away we get from those 8 years of Obama, the more we are learning about the incredible amount of corruption, and so much of it specifically targeted to going after political enemies. People have to be held accountable as a result of this. This is not just minor stuff. This is major stuff. And the only way that people are going to be held accountable is if some people are forced, quite a few people in this case, are forced to go to jail. That's what needs to happen. Otherwise, they'll keep doing it. We need to keep applying the pressure. We need these people to actually suffer consequences for their actions, because this was not just minor corruption. These are serious crimes, high-level, hardcore crimes by the Comrade Obama administration, and it's all coming out now. As a result of this latest revelation of corruption by Comrade Obama, members of Congress, Jim Jordan, Representative Gates, and others are requesting an investigation. And it appears that the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, the eager beaver, the overachiever, has proven that even a blind squirrel will occasionally find a nut, because it appears that Attorney General Sessions is announcing he will order a DOJ review of the former Dear Leader's actions regarding giving Hezbollah a free pass to import tons of cocaine into the United States. Now see, this is the type of issue that will get Jeff Sessions uptight. He is a hardcore anti-drug type guy. So yeah, when he finds out Obama was meddling in this type of stuff, he'll certainly get involved, and he certainly doesn't have to recuse himself from this investigation. It has nothing to do with Russia. This has to do with the Iran deal and placating Iran. This here gets into criminality, my friends. This is not just, decisions made by a presidential administration to get a deal done or anything like this. This is literally permitting a foreign terrorist organization to carry out a massive drug operation inside the United States and looking the other way. In fact, shutting down the DEA from its investigation. There are whistleblowers who are coming right now, who are coming forward, some of whom have been under gag order, who are now coming forward to talk about this. Over the next couple of years, not just the things that we're talking about now, but many more of these types of things are going to come out. And I think when we finally get to the bottom of this rabbit hole, we're going to see exactly what I just told you, that this was by far and away, and it's not even close, the Comrade Obama administration was the most corrupt administration in American history. Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz has just recently been destroyed on Twitter. Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz tweeted out, "Well, the Republicans just passed a tax bill that within a decade raises taxes on middle-class families and adds $1.5 trillion to the debt." Great responses to her on that. She just got destroyed. Here's just a couple. Cub fan says, no, Cub fan, I'm sorry. Cub fan says, "Better than that $10 trillion your pal BHO added." We have Tony, "Stop misleading people. Ask Imran Awan to crunch the numbers for you." And how about Nashville Blues? "How is your corruption and treason case going?" Okay, so there you go. Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz don't know when to keep her mouth shut. She's got enough problems. And she and the Democrats are going to find themselves in a pretty bad situation after all those middle-class families start getting those nice big tax cuts and tax breaks. They're going to have a rough time explaining it. Trump is going to turn a lot of Democrats into Republicans with this tax bill. And Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz and all her left-wing friends are going to be on the outside looking in. And this is going to have a major impact on the 2018 midterms, which I believe are going to go our way. Let me give a tip of the hat to Mara for tipping me off to this next story. It's one that I was going to talk about, but I hadn't planned on getting to it till probably after Christmas. But, once she tipped me off to this and I went and started researching it, I just found that this story probably needs to be moved up to the front of the line because it's a very important story. So thank you, Maura. This has to do with the recent demotion of James Baker. Who's James Baker? Well, he was the general counsel for the FBI and Comey's right-hand man, very close personal friend of James Comey. He's also part of the deep state and the bureaucracy. He's heavily entrenched. He's been deeply entrenched into the Department of Justice as a lawyer for the Department of Justice and the FBI for decades, for a very, very long time. He's a deep state swamp monster of epic proportion. So let's take a look here at the details of this story. House Republicans are investigating contact between the FBI top lawyer, the general counsel, James Baker, and the Mother Jones reporter, David Corn, who's a hardcore left-winger and Trump hater. Just weeks before Mother Jones broke the news story about the existence of the dossier, and just a week before or two before the election, new documents reveal that James Baker, the FBI's general counsel and Comey's friend, communicated with David Corn. Corn was first briefed by Glenn Simpson and later Simpson and Steele. David Corn was the first to report the existence of the dossier and that it was compiled by a former British spy. This happened on October 31st, 2016, just before the election. Corn has denied that Baker was his source for his story. Baker was just on Capitol Hill this past Tuesday, acting as counsel for Andrew McCabe. In McCabe's testimony, he stated that an exchange between an FBI official and a source like David Corn would be unauthorized. Baker has been reassigned by Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray. Well, he's the third person that we know of, high-level person, to be reassigned, along with Bruce Orr and Peter Strzok. Well, that tells us quite a bit. Number one, it tells us that these guys are a liability and that they are going to be causing some embarrassment to the FBI and to the DOJ. Now, a lot of people would say, just as you would expect, why don't they just fire these guys? Well, you can certainly do that, but I must mention to you that firing a government employee is very, very hard to do. They almost have to have committed a fairly major crime. Even minor crimes will not get them fired. I'll give you an example. You have a federal employee. Let's say he comes in to work drunk one day. Supervisor says, hey, you look like you've been drinking. You better go home and not come back and do that again. He does it again and again and again and again. He does it a dozen times. He gets told about coming into work drunk. Well, finally, you reach the end of the road as a supervisor and you fire this federal government employee for coming into work constantly drunk. The very first thing that happens is the Federal Employees Union will go to bat for him, and there will be an arbitration hearing. And this will drag out and drag out and drag out forever. And at the end of the day, they will almost always, 98% of the time, reinstate the government employee. You have to practically murder someone to get fired from the federal government. That's just the way it is. So, I'm not making excuses for Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray and Sessions. I'm just saying that the reason why you're seeing these people being moved, relocated, demoted, or what have you, and not actually fired, is because there is no criminal charge against them yet. Now, I believe that all three of these individuals could be facing criminal charges, at which point they probably would be fired. But I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't, because I know how this works. Nearly impossible to fire a government employee. But this tells us that they're moving these people because obviously they are going to bring embarrassment to the FBI. They've been involved in some things. And also, we have to keep in mind that the FBI and the DOJ, they know that after the first of the year, this Uranium One investigation is going to come to light. It's being investigated by the Congress and by the DOJ. And we're going to have this FBI informant testifying. He is going to implicate all three of these individuals, as well as Uncle Bob, the executioner, and the dishonorable James Comey, and Rod Rodenstein. All of these guys were a part and parcel of the Uranium One deal and the cover-up and the crimes associated with it. That's what William J. Campbell is going to tell us. So, this is why these people are being moved and demoted and reassigned and everything else, because of the liability that they are to the FBI and the DOJ, as well as the information that's going to come out in the future that could lead them to possible criminal indictment and things like that. So this is kind of a face-saving move, a way to get out ahead of it so that they can say, yes, when we found out about Peter Strzok and when we found out about Bruce Orr, we found out about these guys, we made the move. The only person here who does not really get a free pass is going to be McCabe. In fact, we know that McCabe sat right there in his office and was witness to a plot, a conspiracy to do something to the incoming president. And he's either a witness to it or a part of it. And it appears that he was a part of it. It's also very likely that McCabe knew about, Orr and his wife knew about Strzok and others who may have been involved, including Mr. Baker. And that's the problem, that's where McCabe has a problem, and that's why in both of those hearings, 16 hours worth, both of those committees, the House Intel and the Senate Judiciary that interviewed him, both say he was lying a lot. He has no choice. He has no choice but to lie a lot. He's going to be indicted. No question in my mind. Andrew McCabe's got a lot of things going on, and all of them bad. Next, former independent contractor Cody Snodgrass recently took to the airwaves to charge that he was offered $1 million from the CIA to bomb the Alfred Murrah building in Oklahoma City prior to the devastating attack that occurred during the presidential administration of the crooked pecker, accused rapist William Jefferson Blythe Clinton. Last night, Snodgrass was involved in a serious car accident. Now, Snodgrass said that he waited until the rotten Reverend Clinton was out of politics before disclosing this information. Well, I'm sure he's on the list, on the target list of the rotten Reverend Clinton, and he almost showed up as the newest member of the Clinton body count. Obviously, he survived the car accident. We don't know his current condition, but we know it was that he is in very, very serious condition, but it looks like he's going to pull through. But they certainly tried to get him by car accident. I wonder if he was driving a Mercedes. Okay, now, a couple of days ago I told you I was going to comment on this story, this theory by another YouTuber. A link was left on the video, and hopefully some of you checked out that link to this YouTuber. And he goes by the handle sonofnewo. Now, I'm a subscriber to his channel. He is a subscriber to my channel. I really like sonofnewo because what he does very well is he lays out arguments based on hard sources, which he gives you, and then he makes reasoned, rationed, common sense, logical conclusions about the information that he acquires. He's not a conspiracy theorist. He doesn't get off on wild tangents, which is why I like him. He stays focused, and this is what I try to do here on my channel, because what happens sometimes when you get into these types of doing these types of videos, a lot of guys like to start linking things to a million other things. I like Alex Jones, but Alex Jones will get on a topic, and then before you know it, he's linked it to a million other things, and before you know it, you're more confused than when you started. George Webb, who I like a lot of the things he does on Seth Rich, also likes to tie every single thing to a million other things. And what happens is you get so much going on that you can't focus on any of it or make any sense of any of it, which means you can't really get any action going on any of it to bring it to a conclusion. It's just another day, another story that ties into a million other things, and you just end up in the forest and you can't see a single tree because you're blinded by the forest. So what I try to do here on TowerGate is I try to stay focused on the main theme, which is the surveillance, the dossier, the coup d'etat, this type of thing. I do talk about other stories because I do a 30-minute video, but I have a main focus which stays on this track every day, and then I'll talk about some other things just to kind of lighten up the video and make it a little easier to watch because it is a 30-minute video. and you can only take so much in one sitting on one topic. So I'll include other topics, sort of the top topics of the day, into my videos. But for the most part, I try to stay focused. But sonofnewo, he doesn't do nearly as many videos as I do. He does, it looks like maybe one a week or one every 2 weeks. But it seems like what he does is he really gets his mind onto something, a specific thing, very, very specific. He researches it, gets all his facts and research together, then he does a video, he lays out, and he stays very, very focused on just the thing that he's talking about, which is why I like watching his videos. They're extremely targeted and focused. He doesn't get you going in a million different directions. He's very easy to listen to. He doesn't try to entertain you or anything like that. He just deals in some fact-based analysis of the things that he sees going on. And I think his videos are easy to watch, and I enjoy watching them, and I recommend that you do as well. So, you know, just his handle is sonofnewo, sonofnewo, all together. Just type that into the YouTube search box, and you should pull up some of his videos. And he does a very good job. And his videos are usually about like mine, about a half an hour. So, anyway, hats off to sonofnewo. Now, I want to talk about this recent video he did, because it, you know, by the time, I forget who left me the link, but he left me the link and I clicked on it and oh, okay, I've already seen that video. I knew exactly what he was talking about. So I'm going to go through a few of the points that sonofnewo makes in this most recent video, and why I think that it's very intriguing to contemplate what he's putting out there. And it's not full-blown conspiracy stuff, because he lays out some he lays out the evidence for how he arrives at his conclusion and his theory. And he says that his theory may or may not be true. But he certainly put something out there that I haven't heard anybody else say, that when I looked into it, I had to kind of say, you know, he may be onto something here. So I'm going to go through some of these things that he went through in this most recent video, the sonofnewo. Okay, so what he was doing, he was commenting on the Wall Street Journal report by Del Quinton Welber. And Mr. Welber was taking this story about the insurance policy texting that occurred between Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and Andrew McCabe. And what he was trying to do was he was trying to downplay that insurance policy text conversation that happened. And so what sonofnewo, or he was at least always trying to downplay the importance of it. And so what the sonofnewo does is he really dismantles Mr. Welber's argument, and he does it very, very effectively. He also mentions that he doesn't believe that Mueller can shut down the investigation, because liberals will go nuts and say that he was compromised. So he essentially needs a way out of this investigation. And Peter Strzok's texts may be his way out. Now, this is something that we've talked about on the other side, where I was doing some research a few weeks back, and a lot of us were really getting frustrated with Sessions and why hasn't Sessions acted and things and such. And I stumbled onto some information that appears that Jeff Sessions had been cautioned about the fact that they're very, very nervous in the swamp about either one of two things happening, either Sessions or what have you going after the rotten Reverend Clinton and indicting her might create some sort of social disorder, chaos, uprising, violence, whatever, in reaction to indicting the rotten Reverend. But at the same time, sonofnewo is pointing out that there's also on the Mueller side, they're a bit afraid that if Mueller doesn't find Trump-Russia collusion, that people will question his integrity, and people on the left may go out and riot anyway because they think that the whole thing was rigged and that Mueller was bought off, or he was chased off of it, or whatever. So it's the same theme. It's the idea that the reason that Sessions doesn't want to act, or maybe that Mueller is afraid to act, is because they're afraid of the response or the reaction that might happen around the country. They don't want to see hundreds of thousands of people out rioting in the cities, burning down cities, and everything else. So they've now, what they've done on the left is they've created this Russia-Trump hysteria. And they have all these left-wingers, all these liberals, believing that Trump really colluded with Russia and rigged the election, and they've now built these people's hopes up to the point where they have to deliver. And Uncle Bob realizes that if he doesn't deliver, that chaos could ensue. Sessions realizes that if he indicts Hillary, the same thing could happen. So they're terrified of holding anyone accountable because they're afraid of the reaction that might happen across the country. This has put a lot of fear in them. This is why Sessions needs undeniable, overwhelming evidence before he is going to be willing to move on the rotten Reverend Clinton. And this is what Devin Nunes and others are going to try to produce for him. They're going to try to produce so much evidence that Sessions can simply not walk away from it. Now, on Mueller's side of the game, Mueller is in a different situation. He was put in there to take down Trump, but now he realizes that he could have the same response by Trump supporters. So he might be knowing that he cannot just throw some stuff out there and hope it sticks against Trump. If you're going to go after the president, if you're going to aim that high, you better hit your target. You better have the evidence to back it up. And you're also going to see possibly a response by Trump supporters hitting the street. So they're very, very nervous about the response, about what could happen if either of these things were to take place. And this is making them very, very nervous. But the point that sonofnewo is making is that Mueller is also afraid of walking away and leaving everything on the table and not finding Trump-Russia collusion, because they've already built up so much enthusiasm for all these lefties believing it is actually going to happen. And they're afraid if it doesn't happen that you could get a similar response. So he is looking for a way out. And so sonofnewo is suggesting that the Peter Strzok text with the loose Lisa Page and Mr. McCabe may be his way out. And that's a very valid point. So he's questioning whether or not Strzok even exists. And whether or not this entire thing is a complete ruse to give him a way out. Now we know that Loretta Lynch used an alias. And sonofnewo is suggesting that Strzok may simply be an alias. Maybe he's an alias for McCabe. Maybe he's an alias for Comey. Maybe he's an alias for someone else. It's certainly a point worth considering. We're going to find out when we see whether or not Peter Strzok is actually called to appear in a public testimony. Now, sonofnewo points out that McCabe, Rybicki, and Page were all subpoenaed by Trey Gowdy, but not Strzok. Strzok and the loose Lisa Page text was released the day after Flynn's guilty plea to the FBI. Also very suspicious. So, it is a reasonable conclusion to draw based on the evidence we have and knowing the type of people that we are dealing with, spooks who practice the art of deception. So this is a very good thing that sonofnewo is putting out there. He's questioning whether Peter Strzok is an alias, whether he even exists. And I agree with him, and we'll find out. If we don't see Peter Strzok show up in any hearings, that may tell us something. And, there's only one picture of him out there. There's not a lot of stuff out there about Peter Strzok for a guy who's supposed to be so high profile and involved in so many things. And it doesn't appear that anyone is wanting him to testify in public hearings, and he's not been on any of these subpoenas. They're talking about Bruce Orr, they're talking about his wife, they're talking about this guy and that guy, but for some reason, Peter Strzok is not someone that they seem to want to talk to. So you have to wonder, is there a game being run on us? It's very, very possible. So, very good work, sonofnewo, for putting that out there. It's certainly an interesting theory. It's one that could be true, or maybe not. We'll see, and we'll find out if there really is someone named Peter Strzok, or if it's an alias for someone else. Boy, would that make the plot thicken, huh? Well, the Wall Street Journal does confirm in that article the most important thing, that McCabe was in the presence of a conspiracy plot to affect the 2016 election outcome. That is why McCabe is going to jail. Here's a question on insurance policies. Do you think that John F. Kennedy may have had an insurance policy taken out on him? Here's another interesting thing. Glenn Simpson, his wife, bragged on her Facebook page that her husband was behind the Russiagate. Hey, that's just what he needed, right? Just what you need. Your wife out there when you're under all this pressure and all this heat, facing 7 different lawsuits. You're at the very point of this major conspiracy, and your wife goes out there and tweets that you were the one who was responsible for the Russiagate story. Exactly what Glenn Simpson needed. And one final thing regarding Fusion GPS. Several weeks ago, I began considering the possibility that Fusion GPS was possibly a CIA front company. My friends, we now have confirmed, thanks to Kibbutz Law, Kibbitz, Kibbutz Law, has now produced and given us the screenshot from the CIA's own documents showing that Fusion GPS is on the CIA's list of private contractors. Fusion GPS is a private contractor for the CIA, just as I suspected. Should also note that Devin Nunes's investigators are also looking into Fusion GPS. And so far, the preliminary findings are that they're learning that dossiers are what Fusion GPS does. They are paid to put together these scandalous dossiers made up of lies, and then they pay news organizations and journalists to spread them. They are a disinformation intelligence wing arm of the CIA. They also work for a lot of very, very shady people. They're very involved in things all over the world. Nunes's investigators are going to learn all of this and more. And we're going to learn a lot more about the connections between the Central Intelligence Agency, Fusion GPS. This thing is so much bigger than Watergate. Now I just want to take a moment to say Merry Christmas to all of you out there who watch my videos, and a special Merry Christmas and a special thank you to those of you who subscribe and who comment and make this community of this YouTube channel so much fun. Obviously, we're talking about serious issues and things like that, but we do have fun here, I hope. And I don't want to name names because I don't want to forget anybody, but you know who you are. It's those of you who take the time to put in comments, leave links, ask questions, and join in the conversation that really make this channel worth viewing. It wouldn't be any fun if there was nobody here, really. I'd still do it because I'm doing a diary, but it's so much better to have so many wonderful people, so many intelligent people, so many thinking people to come and visit my YouTube channel and to watch the videos and to comment and take part and be a part of all this. So thank you to all of you. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. I wish you all peace. Peace. And when I say peace, of course, we all would love world peace. It's never happened, probably never will. I'm talking about inner peace. And the way to achieve inner peace is simply by doing the right thing every day. So I wish all of you a Merry Christmas and inner peace. I will not be doing a video on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day because just too much running around and things going on with family. But I'll be back on Tuesday with another TowerGate video, same time, same place. You all take care, be safe. Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. Take care. Good night.